birthday, and we are getting ready to go celebrate. And he just had a bath and he's all ready for his party. Are you all ready for your party? Whoa! Are you all ready for your party? Where are you going? Come here. Oh, come here. You're a big boy. What's he doing? Are you ready for your birthday party? Hey.
Come on.
Are you ready?
Come here. Baby, come on.
Are you ready for your party?
Stay in there, come on.
Are you ready? Don't touch your nope. Don't put your finger in there.
Solomon.
Who's that?
Solomon. Come on. Come on, buddy. Come on. Come on, buddy. Come on.
Go see Daddy.
Come on.
Go walk to
Come
Daddy.
on, buddy. Come on. Come on.
Say it's my birthday.
Go, come on. Come on. Come on, buddy.
Go see Daddy.
Come on.
Walk to Dada. Oh, there he goes. There he goes. He's a big boy.
Come on.
There he goes. Today was Solomon's first birthday. I cannot even believe that he is one already. It just seems like yesterday that he was born, and I have just been thinking all day, and I worked last night, so I was thinking all night at work last night about what I was doing a year ago and all of the events that kind of led up to his birth. And it just got me so sentimental just thinking about all that we went through last year, and then kind of where we're at now. And I have a 1-year-old little baby, my baby number 5, and how quickly time passes. It's got me really emotional today. So I am going to do a little bit of a different style video today, and I am going to show you guys sort of how our day went, and also reminisce a little bit about his birth, because I know that I never really did a birth story about his birth, and I want to document it for myself. So I think that's what we're going to do today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You got lipstick on your cheek. Oh, good job. It's tried and true. What? Oh yeah. Solomon did not know today was his birthday, obviously. He's only 1, but he was super, super excited. So I worked last night, and I got home around 4 and went to bed, and my wonderful husband got up and got the kids breakfast and everything while I slept. So I was able to sleep in until about 11:30. And then we had all of our family coming over at about 3:30. So we had hot dogs and chips and baked beans, and I also made like a Velveeta dip in the pressure cooker. And so we had all of that for food. Everybody kind of showed up around 4, and we just had a lot of fun fellowshipping with our family and our cousins, or the kids, my nieces, and you know, my kids' cousins. They had so much fun. They always enjoy time together. Solomon was a little solemn, as usual. He is my solemn little boy. Are you 1 year old? It's 1 year old, but I always say years. Look, Solomon! Yay! bit shy. He has not gotten to spend a lot of time with his aunts and uncles and cousins and his Nana and Papa in a while, so he was a little bit reserved, so we had to kind of break him in a little bit slowly, but he warmed up and we had a really good time. He had a dinosaur themed birthday party today and it went really well. He had a wonderful little cake, and we actually did let him do the little smash cake, so we didn't get a separate smash cake. We just cut him a little piece and we took his clothes off and we let him dig in. Happy birthday to you.
Don't let him burn.
All right. Get you some.
Take a bite.
Is he gonna eat it?
Yeah.
Oh.
There you go. That's how you do it right there.
Yummy.
Right to the nose.
Whatever you say. Is that yummy?
That's how you do it, buddy.
Yummy.
That's like a dinosaur got a hold of him there. His face.
And he loved it. I can remember some of my kids that did not particularly enjoy the whole digging into the cake. Now Maddie, she loved hers. Solomon, he wasn't attacking the cake, but he would like dip his fingers in the cake and just kind of smear it on his nose, and he was like licking his fingers, and it was just super cute. So he thoroughly enjoyed his birthday cake, which was awesome. We did birthday presents and he opened those, and I helped him open some.
Oh, Joseph, you want to open your presents? You open your birthday presents? Look! Look, this is pretty. Open it up. What's in there? A bear. Oh, let him get it. Let him get it. Oh, look. And I got a dinosaur cup. That is so nice. A dinosaur cup?
Mason and Maddie got him some little gifts that they had picked out from Walmart. A couple of dinosaurs and like some little people. And Mason had colored a couple pictures for Solomon and Maddie too, actually. And that was really sweet. Oh, Maddie gave you this.
Oh, yeah. And
Look, you got another dinosaur.
yep.
You like that? Say rawr. Say rawr. So we opened all of his presents, and he enjoyed playing with those, and he absolutely loved his balls. He is like in love with bouncy balls, and I think that was probably his favorite gifts tonight.
It's soft, and I thought he would like it.
You like that? Soft. Soft.
All right, you want to keep looking?
Let him hold that one because he'll probably cry if you take it away from him.
Oh, look.
Look at that.
So we did presents, and then we just kind of enjoyed some time together as a family, and then kind of settled in for the night. We got him all changed and tucked in a bottle and everything, and so he is now sound asleep in his bed. And like I was saying, I was just thinking about a year ago, I was in the hospital. I had had a really, really difficult day this time last year. So I went to the doctor. So it would have been September 29th. I had gone into the doctor's office. I had an appointment. I was 40 weeks pregnant, and I was, I'm wondering if I was 41 weeks. I was either 40 weeks or 41 weeks, and I had a doctor's appointment, and I went in, and I had been having back pain and some cramping that day. And I can remember the doctor looked at me and he said, "You have the look." And I said, "What look?" And he said, "I can pretty much guarantee you that you're not going to make it till Monday." So we were going to induce, I must have been 41 weeks. Yes, I was 41 weeks. And he said that we would induce on Monday if I did not go into labor over the weekend. So it was on a Friday. I had that doctor's appointment. I had been having low back pain, some cramping. I just wasn't feeling my best, but it really, I didn't really think that it was early labor. I just didn't feel good. So I had gone in, and he, you know, said that I was still really not making a ton of progress, but that could all change very quickly. So I left the doctor's appointment. I was very, very frustrated because I did not want to be induced, and I knew that my time was coming to an end. They weren't going to let me just go and go and go, because I've had really big babies, and they did not want to let me just continue to go and go and go. So they were going to induce on Monday. So we left the doctor's office, and, you know, of course, I was asking my doctor, what can I do to have this baby? And he was saying, there's nothing you can do, because your body is going to do what it's going to do when it's going to do it. And you can walk if you want to. That's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to put you into labor. So that day I went home, and I did take a very long walk through the neighborhood. I mean, I just really just got it, and I walked and walked and walked. And then I also pulled out, that evening I pulled out our great big exercise ball, and I was watching TV, and I was just bouncing on that thing because I had heard that that would do it as well. So I was bouncing on that bouncy ball, and nothing. Like, I wasn't even having, you know, I'd have a contraction here and there, but I really wasn't having anything regular or anything to really talk about. So I was kind of giving up. I actually have never gone into labor on my own at all, and with this being baby number 5, I was not expecting to go into labor on my own at all, and I didn't even know what to expect because, like I said, I've always been induced. I always go past my due date, and so I was doing all the things that people were saying would put you into labor, but it never worked before, and I didn't expect it to work again that time. So I remember I sat down on the couch. It was getting pretty late, and I was sitting with Maddie and trying to kind of rock her to sleep, and we were just hanging out watching TV, and I had a really strong contraction, and I didn't mention it to anyone. I just kind of made note of the time, and I had downloaded an app on my phone for timing contractions, and so I decided to go ahead and open the app and start timing my contractions. Well, they started coming very regularly for about 30 to 45 minutes before I told my husband. And I said, you know, they're coming really regularly. And he was kind of like, well, okay. He didn't really think that it was going to happen either. So we'd been through this before. So he had gone to the store to get something and had come back, and I had continued to have contractions. And by this time, the app on my cell phone was saying, go to the hospital, because they were less than 5 minutes apart, and I had been having contractions for over an hour at less than 5 minutes apart. So I told him, I said, you know, I think we need to call Mom. I think we need to get her over here, because I'm pretty sure that it's going to happen tonight, because they're not going away. So I put a call into my doctor's office. 9:34 right now at night. I have been having contractions every 5 to 6 minutes since 7:45. Right now. They've been coming every 5 to 6 minutes since then. And called my mom and told her to go ahead and head over. She was about a half hour from our house. So she came over, and I, you know, was talking to the doctor on the phone, and because of the fact that it was my 5th baby and I'd had some pretty quick births beforehand after being induced, I would not be in labor for very long. They really thought that, hey, let's just bring you in and get you checked out instead of like pushing it to the last minute. So she came, and Maddie had not been away from us at that point overnight, I don't think ever. So she had a little bit of a meltdown when we were getting ready to leave. And then Jacob actually fell down the stairs before we left too. So there was all this chaos, and I had a lot of adrenaline. And then after I had all this adrenaline rush from Maddie crying to Jacob falling down the stairs, my contractions stopped. 100% they stopped. So we got in the car, and we were driving to the hospital anyway. And the entire time over to the hospital, I was thinking, we're gonna have to go back home, because I am not having contractions. I mean, I would have one here and there, but nothing really major. And I was just thinking, this is just going to be a waste of time. So I had called my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and they were going to meet us over there. So they came over. You know, I was in the hospital, and they had the monitor on, and you know, they saw that I was having some contractions. They were not regular. The baby's heart rate was quite fast, and they were a little bit concerned about that. But they wanted to see they were going to watch me a little bit. So they were going to have me walk around the hospital to see if I could get my contractions going because of the fact that I was already overdue. So me and Jimmy and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, we did some laps around the hospital. And the whole time we were walking, I did not have any contractions. Maybe like one here and there. It was just really nothing. And I was like, you know, I really don't have any pain. I was really disappointed, very disappointed. I wanted things to pick up and I wanted them to happen quickly. So we went back to the room after walking for about a half an hour, I believe. And they hooked me back up to the monitor. They saw that I was having some contractions, but they weren't super regular. I was doing everything in my power to convince the doctor to allow me to stay. But they said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let you walk again. And then after that, if your contractions have picked up, then we'll keep you. And if not, you're going to have to go home. So we did another few laps around the hospital. And I came back and they hooked me up. And the contractions were coming pretty regularly. The baby's heart rate was still quite fast, and they decided to admit me for observation just to watch me. Not because I was really in true labor, but I had made a little bit of progression in dilation or effacement during the walking, and the contractions were sort of regular. So they moved me to a room for observation. Well, as soon as they put me in the observation room, I started having contractions, and they were hard and fast, and they were hurting really bad. I went to the bathroom and I was having the bloody show, and I just knew, because of how many times I've been in labor, that I was entering into true labor. So when the doctor came in, I said, look, I'm in labor. You're going to have to move me to another room. And he looked at me like I was crazy because it hadn't been that long. And he said, well, no, you're not. You know, we're not moving you to another room because you're not being admitted. I mean, we're just watching you. And I said, no, I'm in labor. And again, they were kind of looking at me like I'm crazy, but I said, listen, I know my body and I know that I am in labor. So please check me again and look at the monitor because things are happening. And so he did. And he checked me. And he said, you know what, you're right. You've got some bloody show, and you're having, you know, you've dilated a little bit more. Your contractions are pretty regular, so we will keep you. So that was enough to convince them to keep me, because I was thoroughly convinced that if they discharged me, I would be back within an hour or two in full-blown labor. So they moved me upstairs to this really beautiful, nice big room. And it was just immediately, I mean, my labor picked up and it was just regular, and the contractions were getting strong, and it was just moving really fast. My poor husband had been up for so many hours, and I told him to just take a nap because I just wanted to labor, you know, in a quiet, dark room, and I had some headphones, and I wanted to put on some worship music. And it was really like it was just a very peaceful and like very intimate time of like worship and just spending time with the Lord. And I really truly like just dug deep, and it was very, 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 I don't know, it was just a very, very intimate time of experiencing some intense pain and also worshiping my Heavenly Father throughout the entire process. And I was really quite happy to be alone and kind of go through that, you know, just just really special time. So I labored very quietly and peacefully, and I suffered through a lot of, pain and everything, as well as listening to a lot of worship music for pretty much throughout the entire night. And my husband got up early morning, and the doctor came in and he said, "Man, you were right. You move really fast when your body gets going." And so they told me that I was, I believe, at a 7 or 8, and it was time to get an epidural if I wanted one. And I chose to have an epidural just because of what I'd gone through in the past with the hemorrhage and everything, and all of the pain that comes after birth is what I was most concerned about. So I decided to get the epidural, and shortly after receiving the epidural, the baby descended into the pelvis and his heart rate stopped. And so the nurse was turning me on my side, and she was monitoring the baby's heart rate, and she was a little concerned. His descent just really messed up his behavior. And so we were trying to get that baby to cooperate, and with every single contraction we were having some deceleration and in the heart rate, and so it was a little scary. And knowing what decels are and all these things as a nurse, I was a little concerned that okay, he's descended into my pelvis and we're having decels, and maybe the cord's around his neck, and with the contraction it's cutting off his circulation and the oxygen and all this stuff. I was just panicked. I was just really scared for the baby, and I could see on the nurse's face that she was a little bit, concerned as well. So she was talking to Solomon the whole time, saying, "Solomon, come on now, buddy, don't act up." So he finally his heart rate leveled out. The epidural did not take on one side, so I was completely feeling all of the contractions on one side, and I was completely numb on the other side. So they were trying to give me more and more to numb up the other side. So that was a little bit difficult there. But he came very quickly after getting the epidural, and it was a beautiful birth, and it was just wonderful. I mean, he just came right out, and he was just gorgeous, and it was just wonderful. The doctor was so pleased because, she told me that I didn't look like I was bleeding, and, we were all very concerned because I'd had such a horrible hemorrhage with Maddie's birth, and I had lost so much blood that I was passing out, and I ended up having to have a blood transfusion of 2 units of blood, and that was a huge concern for Solomon's birth. But we were really thrilled because she said, "It looks like everything is great," and I was on top of the world, you guys. I was so excited. So they put me in a wheelchair, and I got my picture made with little Solomon, and it's a picture that I showed on Instagram about how wonderful the birth was and everything. And at this hospital, they move you into another room after you give birth. So they had moved me into this other room, and as I was getting from the wheelchair up into the bed, I felt a lot of blood come out of me, and I thought, well, that could be normal, just some afterbirth and things like that maybe. So I got into the bed, and I didn't say anything about it really. And as I'm sitting there, I had a couple other episodes of just a lot of blood coming out, and so much to where it was coming out into the bed. And so the nurse came in, and she said, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "Well, I think so, but I'm having a lot of bleeding." And she looked really concerned, and she said, "Well, let's see what a lot of bleeding is." And when she checked me, she hit a panic button in the room, and she said, "A lot of people are going to be coming in here. Don't be alarmed, but this is an emergency. You're bleeding out." So I was like, here we go again, So within a matter of minutes, there was about 12 people in the room, the doctors and just nurses and aides and all kinds of things. So the bleeding just intensified, and within minutes I was hemorrhaging, full-blown hemorrhaging. And so I'd gone to the bathroom and tried to clean up a little bit and nearly collapsed because I had lost so much blood. And so I got back into the bed, and the doctor started the process of trying to get the bleeding stopped, which I'm not going to go into detail about, but it's absolute torture. It's torture. It is on the 10 scale. It is literally soaring off of the 10 scale of pain. I've had a baby naturally without even a Motrin, and this pain exceeds all of that. So it was intense. And so they came in and they were giving me shots in both my legs, and they were putting pills in my cheeks, and they were putting pills under my tongue and all of this stuff trying to get me to stop bleeding. And so they worked on me for a long time, and they finally had got the bleeding controlled. And I was by that time they had given me a lot of pain medicine, and I was really just out of it. I had lost a lot of blood, and I had gotten a lot of pain medicine, and it was just hard. It was just a hard day. And I was thinking about that tonight. Tonight is about the time when, I was just laying in bed, and I was just, thinking, boy, I've been through so much today, and visiting with the kids and everything, and I was so exhausted, and I felt really bad. But luckily, I didn't lose as much blood as I did with Maddie, so I did not end up having to have a blood transfusion, which was amazing, but I still lost enough blood to feel pretty rotten. And then the procedures that they did on me to get the bleeding to stop left me in intense pain, just horrible pain. So pain control was a big issue after I had Solomon, and I was on pain medication for quite some time to help control the pain. But that being said, Solomon was just an absolute joy. He was the most peaceful, beautiful, sleeping little baby, and the hospital stay was amazing. Jimmy did have to go home and go to bed, but because he did have to get up early and go to work, sadly. But that was the second night, not the first night. The first night he stayed, and the second night he left. But it was really a wonderful hospital stay, and just thinking back on it, it just warms my heart. And I love those first few days with your newborn, especially being in the hospital, which I actually love because there's people there to help you and kind of wait on you. It was a good hospital stay, and it was an amazing little time with my newborn. So that is basically it. I just thought it would be kind of fun to do a video celebrating Solomon's first year and remembering his birth as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of video, and if you did, a big thumbs up would be appreciated. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and I will see you guys again very soon.